Sorted. There we go. All right. So this is brand new. Well, dropped an hour ago. So expat becomes homeless in Philippines with rotten leg, no money and nowhere home. So it's quite sad, right? This is really, really bad. There's nothing fun about this story. There's nothing humor, but it's one of those. What we say? It's one of those. Be warned, right? Something like that. Like I can't remember the exact words, but it's like be warned.
In this video, I'm going to focus only on one story, but I promise you it's an incredible story. Here it is. A British man stranded in the Philippines claims he is waiting to pass away after his life took a horrific turn, leaving him with a rotten leg, no visa, and no way home. Conan White, 60 years old, has been left in unimaginable agony, his foot mangled beyond recognition after a botched medical procedure, a failed witch doctor's exorcism, and years of neglect. His harrowing descent into nightmare began when he uprooted his life to move to the Southeast Asian country in 2018 for love, only to be stabbed by his girlfriend and abandoned in the slums. Now penniless, immobile, and starving, Conan says he is trapped in the jungle hut, held like a prisoner by locals who control the only key to the gates. With his funds nearly depleted and his health rapidly deteriorating, he fears he's only days away from not being alive. Quote.
So this dude, right, went online to a Christian dating site, and here's the thing, right? Here's a warning to all you so-called foreigners, male and female, because I've come across a female who did the same thing, and this is like about probably a decade and a half ago. Yeah, about 15 plus years ago. And when I met her, I was really uneasy, and I was like, because what I heard made me feel uneasy, like in my gut or in my chest, I was like, there's something, isn't going to turn out right. And whenever I feel that way, I kind of like pay attention to it, or I note it down. And then I was told about 6 months to a year later by my mom that this lady who had met someone online from Australia, went over to live with them. He locked her up in his garage and held her captive in Australia, by the way, not in some foreign Asian, backward, whatever, third world country, in Australia, right? So, and that was 15 years ago. So this is this guy here, 7 years ago, right, who basically just met someone on a Christian dating site, right, and decided, well, this is the lady of my life. And so he went out there and met her, took whatever he had, money in his pocket, whatever. All right, we're going to make a home for ourselves. The problem is when you're overseas, you don't have much control over what happens. You really don't, right? Unless you have family there, you should not be making plans like this. Unless you know how to speak the language, you shouldn't be making plans like this, right? Unless you have a work situation there, where it's provided for you, you got interpreters and, all the setup, right? Safety nets are set up. You shouldn't be running overseas to do, set up home, right? And this guy is learning the hard way and has learned the hard way, and it keeps getting worse for him.
This is really it now. The project that is me is almost over, he said. The desperate Brit has told Mail Online about his hellish experience living and surviving in the Philippines wilderness after setting up a crucial fundraiser he hopes may just save his life. Conan, eager to return to what once was his home in Newbury, Berkshire, UK, is now begging the British Embassy to rescue him from his nightmare as he battles living in a jungle located a 17-hour ferry away from any civilization with a decaying foot. The Foreign Office have informed Mail Online they are aware of his plight. The expat moved to the Philippines in 2018 after meeting a woman on Christian dating app. Excited to begin his new life, he gave up his job as an HR officer at Hindua Global Solutions to start what he thought would be a fresh start in the paradise of Southeast Asian country. But his world quickly came crashing down when he realized he had made a dangerous mistake, falling for a woman he claims was involved in dubious business and had abandoned her child. After spending around 5 years with his then girlfriend and even taking her 9-year-old son from the hands of her sister, she would go to stab him in May 2022. Conan said
So this dude, right, in 2018 decides to go over there, meets someone online, goes over to the Philippines, doesn't know the language. Maybe he does, whatever, but he doesn't know the culture. He doesn't know how and I've talked about this myself, right here, just traveling to Fiji, where my mom had to, when I was drunk, like mom's like, you're staying home, going up, going nightclubbing. I'm like, I'm going. And she's like, okay, well, Ax is one of my cousins or my uncle, give me a cup of water. And then like goes, well, why don't you sleep, son? And like, because I'm like out of my case, because this is when I was on medication and I was drinking and I was heavy intoxicated. And I'm like, no, I need to go because I get very energetic when I've been drinking, right? And so I decided, well, let's go clubbing, let's let that energy out. And so I can just remember mom pouring water on my crutch, over my pants because I'm lying in bed, because I'm all ready to go out, right? All suited up, dressed up. And then she goes, no, you can't go out. Look, you've just wet yourself. You're just, you're going to disgrace yourself and all that in public. And I'm like, okay. And I'm out. Like weird, like my brain just, but this is in Fiji where I'm actually from natively, indigenously, whatever. And around my family, and my parents are like, my family's scared of me going out on the town in our own kind of like, in our own country, right? Secondary country, whatever. Yet this is this dude over in Philippines, leaving his home in Britain as an elderly man, meeting someone online, goes over to Philippines because he met this lady on a Christian dating site, right? And goes there and finds out she's got a 9-year-old son and she's very bad solo mother, right? And doesn't know the culture well, and now he's living in a decrepit situation, and she stabs him after 5 years of being together.
Relationship was flawed, and the vicious attack is what led him to his first encounter with Philippines police. The Brit recalled laying on a bed in their shared home after they had broken up before she launched the unprovoked assault on him. Quote, I was on the bed, and the next thing I know, she was attacking me, fighting me, stabbing me, and then she stabbed me in my foot. She stabbed me twice. I have no idea what with. He said he retreated in a panic, hobbling down the stairs, and Conan then rushed to the police, only to be told they would not investigate unless he paid a bribe. Alone and injured.
So here's the other thing. He doesn't know anything about her background apart from what she's told him. They're complete strangers. He's got all good intentions, right? I want to start up a life with this foreign lady, who I like, who I've met online, who I found hot, whatever, attractive. She's telling me all she needs to tell me because she wants me, wants my money, right? Basically, that's what he doesn't realize it, but that's what she wants. She wants a good life. And now whatever the case is, she doesn't want him around. And he's basically should have left years ago, right? When he realized that she's, doesn't care about her son. But no, he's going to stick around and put himself in more danger until she stabs him a couple of times. And now he's screwed. Not only is he running out of money, the woman he's come to expect to be his partner, wife, whatever, doesn't like him and is trying to murder him.
he was forced to patch himself up and flee into the slums of Cebu. Following the bloody assault, Conan was forced to live a rat-infested squalor where he came face to face with disease-ridden vermin the size of cats and shared a communal bathroom with cobras. Images shared by Conan of a Cebu slum revealed the beginning of his tragic journey from home comfort to desperate measures. His bed, merely two wooden pallets topped with a single dirty duvet and a child's pillow, was where Conan attempted to rest and recover. The toilet was shared by a dozen other poverty-stricken Filipinos, and a scene surrounded by large, grimy waste bins. His $1 or 1.4 pound per night accommodation were little more than a filthy, crumbling shack. There, Conan was bitten by a rat and contracted mpox. What? But although it seemed as the Brit hit rock bottom, his suffering was far from over. In the summer of 2023, Conan took a catastrophic fall down a freeway after just having recovered from COVID-19 and mpox, saying his immune system was at its weakest. It was during this incident Conan's foot was left shattered, forcing him to seek treatment at a private clinic where he claims the doctor deliberately butchered his limb to extort him for money. Quote, locals confirmed to me that I shouldn't have gone there and that he was a charlatan that will hack your foot apart, end quote. Days later.
This is the other thing. Remember, we're talking about, I think it was Thailand with that guy, Kevin, I think it was, I think at the end of last year, who was taken hostage. He's a live streamer. The locals are warning him, right? You must leave. They're coming for you. You must leave. And he ignored them. He ignored his wife, right? And her family, and he ended up being shot in the leg and bleeding out, right? FBI and everybody else was involved from America because he was an American. And it's just crazy. Like, people have this weird idealistic idea of the world, and if you keep that idealistic idea of the world, you're going to get yourself in trouble, like this dude did and that other guy did, right? Kevin Eastman, that was his name. And he paid with his life, and this guy's paying with his life on everything he's got, right? Having to pay bribe to look into the case, trying to get help, pay for it. He's freaking got monkeypox, right? Mpox. He's got gangrene. He's basically, his foot's rotting away.
A water burst in his home sent him tumbling down the stairs again, worsening his injuries. His foot became twisted, mangled, and oozing with infection. The man soon began experiencing a fever, one so severe he had to be taking antibiotics and useless medication that were not working, he says. Quote, I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but I was probably done at that point. I was in a complete state. I could barely speak. I could barely move. I couldn't hold down food. Conan's then girlfriend, who was located in Malaysia and growing increasingly concerned for his well-being, said he immediately needed to go to a hospital. Her brothers took an 8-hour ferry from Mindanao to Cebu to bring him back to the Philippine islands so he could be seen at the city hospital. Quote, but when you go to the hospital here, you don't get much help. You have to have...
And that's the other thing, right? If you do not have insurance overseas, and I've made the mistake of not having it, right? Not that I've needed it, which I'm very thankful for, but if you're traveling overseas, please get insurance, right? Medical insurance, because you just never know what's going to happen, right? Because, like I said, you can be idealistic about the world, but you have to be pragmatic, all right? Especially if you're traveling. If you've never been to a place before, please protect yourself, right? Get insurance. Make sure that you're not leaving a burden to your family because you want to save a couple bucks. And this is what this guy's doing now. He's relying on charity. He's relying on GoFundMe, right? Crowdfunding to get him out of there because he's eating up all his money. All his good intentions are out the window right now. And look at this dude. This is how bad this dude is, right? You go to a doctor here or a nurse, whatever. Like, seriously. I think this might have been during COVID. So probably 2022 or something like that, 2020, 2021. But, yeah, he ain't... It's a wonder he survived this long with all that's going on with him.
someone with you, you have to have help. They have to stay with you in the hospital and sleep in the chair next to you. They're the ones who dress your wounds and get your medicine. The nurses don't do anything, he said. When he arrived back home, he quickly...
This is similar to what happens in the Pacific Islands as well, right? That you have to have a family member there. I'm not sure if it's a cultural thing or what, but they're the ones who like dress your wounds and stuff, and then this will show them how to do it, whatever it is. I really haven't liked Fiji hospitals. Really, the couple of times I've been there to visit someone, I've stayed outside, right, in the grounds, like just walking around, whatever, looking at this guy hanging out by the trees. I've just not liked hospitals ever since I was a child. I've spent a couple of times, like, you know, with operations and stuff, but I've never liked hospitals. I've got family members who are, you know, nurses and stuff, but just, you know, it is what it is, right? People don't really like hospitals, but that's because you know that you're sick and you know, so the best thing is to look after yourself, right? But this guy is constantly ill since his time there, and
quickly realized his foot was not in any better state, and he was again rushed to the hospital. Conan claimed the doctor did not look at his wound, instead charged him a hefty consultation fee and prescribed a course of antibiotics. Not able to return home and care for himself, the desperate and sick man went to stay with his girlfriend's mother, where in horror turn of events, he was left bedbound for a year due to her neglect. Quote, "It was a horrible time. It's very traumatizing," Kona said. "My leg was continuously infected. It was on the verge of gangrene." I don't know what that is, man. And realized...
So this is what gangrene is, right? So let me just bring it up. So gangrene is a serious medical condition that occurs when body tissue dies due to a lack of blood supply or severe bacterial infection. And he's had that, right? He's had crazy infections. It most commonly affects the extremities such as fingers, toes, and limbs, right? I guess, you know, limbs, legs and arms or whatever. But it can also occur in internal organs and muscles. So there's about 5 different types of gangrene, right? So there's a dry gangrene caused by reduced blood flow, diabetes, conditions like diabetes, and atherosclerosis, right? Wet gangrene results from bacterial infection. In addition to poor blood flow, it spreads rapidly and produces pus. He's had that as well. And gas gangrene, a rare but deadly form caused by Clostridium bacteria producing gas within the tissues. And internal gangrene affects internal organs like the intestines, gallbladder, or appendix due to blood flow. And Fournier gangrene, a rare type affecting the genital region, usually caused by infection. So that's pretty... Having gangrene is not a frigging good thing at all. And this guy is like, it's got it. Right? This is stuff that, you know, we've basically, if I remember right, we've gotten rid of in the West. Right? So yeah, serious stuff. You know, this guy's what a way to live your senior years, right? Go overseas in the hopes of love after meeting someone online, and then finding that you've got yourself into a dark hole that you just can't get out of. And while you're there, you're sick, you get sick, you keep getting sick, people you know, use you.
Needed to go to a hospital, but the mother kept telling me that I went to the hospital, they would just chop my leg off. She insisted that they would not offer any treatment and would jump straight to amputation, which left him fearing for his life. Conan claims her mother gave him another choice, however. She said, "If you stay here, I'll look after you. Give me your money." Desperate for aid, Conan followed her demands and was then taking care of his girlfriend's mother, but his foot would never fully recover. The mother took Conan off diabetic medication and his antibiotics, instead using herbal remedies and try to fix his severe ailment. She had invited priests to the house.
Okay. So I'm going to leave that there.